Someone opens their banking app every morning, not to spend money, not to transfer anything, just to look at the number. If the balance has not changed, they feel relieved. If it has increased slightly, they feel even better. As long as the money is still sitting there, they feel as though life is still under control. The same person also has an investment account. They deposited money into it 3 months ago. Since then, they have barely opened the app. The same person, the same money, the same anxiety about the future, but two completely different behaviors toward two different accounts. Why? You already know the simple version of this subject. Savings usually feel safer, but they tend to grow more slowly. Investments fluctuate more, but they may offer greater long-term growth potential. You have probably heard that hundreds of times. But this video is not about which one is better. It is about why knowing the correct answer often fails to change our behavior, because financial decisions are not made by mathematics alone. They are also shaped by our need for certainty, our fear of loss, and when we believe we will need the money. Sometimes the system our brain uses to keep us safe can make us more vulnerable over the long term. Imagine that you are given a choice. Option 1, you receive $50 with complete certainty. Option 2, a coin is flipped. There is a 50% chance you receive nothing and a 50% chance you receive $110. The mathematical expected value of the second option is slightly higher. But in similar decision-making experiments, many people still choose the guaranteed reward. It is not because they cannot understand simple mathematics. Something certain does not feel like just another high-probability outcome. In the mind, certainty creates a category of its own. Even a 90% chance of winning does not feel the same as a guaranteed win, because inside that 90%, there is still a small possibility of losing. With certainty, that possibility appears to disappear completely. A large part of the psychological attraction of a savings account is hidden inside this difference. The number on the screen appears stable. You believe it will still be there tomorrow. You may not know how much it will grow, but you believe you know how much money you have. That feeling gives you more than money. It gives you a sense of control. But certainty also has an invisible price. Now look at the other side of the equation. Losing $50 does not feel like the exact opposite of gaining $50. For many people, a loss creates a stronger emotional reaction than an equivalent gain. When an investment account rises by 5%, you may see it as welcome progress. But when it falls by 5%, a movement of the same size can suddenly feel much more important. That is because your mind may not process the decline as neutral information. It may process it as a threat. Something is being taken away. Your sense of control is weakening. The possibility that you made the wrong decision begins to appear. This is why short-term investment declines can occupy so much space in our memory. Gains begin to feel normal. Losses feel like warnings. Looking at a savings account can feel calming because most days you do not see a dramatic decline on the screen. Looking at an investment account can feel uncomfortable because daily price movements make a long-term plan look like a decision that must be made again every morning. This is where a major mistake begins. You start judging a 20-year plan through a 24-hour chart. Avoiding your investment account does not necessarily mean you are irrational. Your mind may simply be treating immediate, visible losses as more urgent than slow and abstract gains. But the same mind struggles to see another kind of loss: inflation. The money in a savings account does not always fall visibly on the screen. There may be no red number. There may be no notification warning you that your balance has declined. The number may even increase slightly as interest is added. But when the return on the account remains below inflation, The balance can grow while its purchasing power shrinks. You can no longer buy everything that the same amount of money bought a year earlier. The application does not show you this directly. It usually shows you only the nominal balance. That is why inflation loss is psychologically quiet. A market decline is visible. The screen turns red. The graph moves downward. You feel the loss immediately. The erosion of purchasing power moves more slowly. Nothing dramatic happens on a single day, but over many years, the same amount of money begins to buy less life. This is the paradox. While your mind is trying to protect you from loss, it may push you toward a different loss that it cannot clearly see. The choice that feels safest today may cost more than you realize over the long term. That does not mean saving is bad. The problem is not saving money. The problem is asking savings to perform a job they were never designed to perform. So which one wins? Savings or investing? Neither. Because that is the wrong question. Savings and investing are not competing in the same race. They were not designed to solve the same problem. Savings answer this question. If something unexpected happens soon, can I continue living my life? What happens if you lose your job? What happens if you face an emergency medical expense? What happens if your car breaks down? What happens if your income disappears for several months? The purpose of this money is not to make you wealthy. Its purpose is to buy you time. It prevents you from immediately turning to expensive debt. It gives you breathing room before you have to make a major decision. This is not only a financial function, it also creates a psychological floor beneath you. Investing answers a completely different question. Years from now, will I have enough purchasing power to live the life I actually want? Will you be forced to continue working during retirement? Will you be able to reduce your working hours? Will you have options for your children's education? Will you be able to make major life decisions without depending entirely on your next monthly salary? These questions are not about next month. They are about 10 years, 20 years, or even longer. Savings can provide short-term security, but savings alone may not provide enough long-term growth. Investments may offer long-term growth potential, but they cannot guarantee short-term stability. The price of growth potential is that values may fluctuate along the way. That fluctuation does not always mean the system is broken. Sometimes it is simply part of how investing works, and keeping money safe and accessible is not cowardice. When the purpose of the money is genuinely short-term security, stability is not a weakness, it is a design feature. The greatest mistake people make is not simply choosing the wrong financial product. It is failing to give their money a specific job. They see all their money as one large pile. Money for emergencies, money for a goal 5 years away, and money that will not be touched for 20 years are placed inside the same mental box. Then they expect one financial behavior to satisfy every need. That is impossible. If you place money you may need soon entirely into volatile investments, its value may be down when an emergency arrives. You may be forced to sell at the wrong time. A long-term asset is then sacrificed to solve a short-term problem. On the other hand, if you keep every dollar you will not need for decades only in low-return, stable accounts, you may limit your future purchasing power in exchange for comfort today. In both situations, the financial tool itself is not necessarily the problem. The problem is the mismatch between the tool and the time horizon. This is why money should be divided not only by amount, but also by time. The first category is money for the near future. It covers unexpected expenses, emergencies, and short-term needs. This money should be accessible. Its value should not change dramatically over a short period. Its purpose is not to generate the highest possible return. Its purpose is to absorb the financial shocks that appear in ordinary life. The second category is money for medium-term goals. It may be used several years from now for a home, education, a business, or another major expense, the appropriate level of risk should depend on how close the goal has become. The third category is long-term money. This is money that will not be needed for many years and can tolerate short-term fluctuations. Its purpose is not to reduce today's anxiety. Its purpose is to increase tomorrow's options. Your checking habits should also match the time horizon of the money. Checking an emergency fund can be useful because its purpose is to remain available in the near future. But checking a 20-year investment plan every day can turn a long-term decision into a daily emotional test. Every decline makes you question the plan. Every rise tempts you to take more risk. Your mood begins to replace your strategy. Long-term investments can therefore be reviewed at planned intervals instead of being monitored impulsively every day. The goal is not to ignore what is happening. The goal is to stop reacting as though every price movement requires a new decision. Not every new piece of information requires a new action. Sometimes the most difficult financial behavior is doing nothing. Now return to the person from the beginning. They opened the savings account every morning. That account gave them a sense of security and control. They avoided the investment account. Its fluctuations reminded them that their decision could temporarily appear to be wrong. But the real problem was not that they loved one account and feared the other. They were trying to answer two different questions about time with the same emotional response. The question, what happens to me next month, requires security, accessibility, and stability. The question, what happens to me 20 years from now, requires time, patience, and the ability to tolerate some uncertainty. If you try to answer the first question only with investments, you may be forced to sell at the wrong time when an emergency appears. If you try to answer the second question only with savings, money that appears safe may fail to grow enough over the years. The real financial skill is not choosing one side. It is knowing what job the money is supposed to perform. Money for your near future should protect you. Money for your distant future should have the opportunity to work for you. Most people do not fail because they cannot understand compound interest. They fail because they try to solve short-term fears with long-term money and long-term goals with short-term tools. When you match the time horizon of the money with the correct financial tool, your emotions do not completely disappear, but they stop controlling every decision. After that, what remains really is just arithmetic. In the sketchbook economy, every page leads to another. Subscribe and turn the page with me.